It's an appointment by...
Because he does the appointments.
Yes.
One of the things that makes being a commission a little more difficult than most is we just don't meet, every other week. We're actually a commission we're there. You have to be there for the shows, and we take turns being there. Well, some of us are there for all the shows, like Dick Ober. Dick Ober is one of the commissioners, and he's there for every show.
Yes.
I'm there for every show. Jerry's there for shows. So to be a commissioner, until we can get enough people involved, even paid staff, we can't rely on people to just be at a meeting. You got to be there, and you got to push a broom. You push a broom, and that's what we've been doing. And you mentioned Russ Rossetti, who's been a wonderful volunteer, and him with Gene Crawford.
Yes.
Without Gene and without Russ, Gene is great. You'll see him down at the bottom of the stairs keeping the food and drink out of the theater. And you'll see him running around renting cushions.
Well, John, the volunteer effort is phenomenal. And like you said, without it, or if anyone would even like to volunteer that might be watching it, there's a lot of new people that have moved into the city of Medford that may be watching tonight or may be reading the newspapers or perhaps attending different events. And there are individuals that have come in from some other cities and towns that have a good deal of experience in many different areas that they could help share and be a part of our community on it. But funding is scarce, as we all know, but with a volunteer effort, you can help to do things. John, you mentioned an individual, his name is Don Law, with the Don Law Productions, yes. And there's no question about it. When you talk about a performance, that is the person to go to in the city of Boston. He's put on different events at all of the major venues. I know he works exclusively with the Orpheum Theatre as well. Yes. But this is, we talk about the Brooks Estate as being one of the Medford jewels, but in my opinion too, Mr. President, we have one right here, right in the auditorium. There's no question about it. And utilizing it to put on great performances and great shows. I can think of some of the performances and shows that I've gone to in the past, as the South Pacific, the Little Shop of Horrors, the Air Force Band that's been there in the past, and Livingston Taylor a couple of years ago when he was there. And just to talk with him afterwards, have the opportunity to speak with him after the show. I mean, these are things that are needed in the city of Medford. And anything that we can do as a council, or anything that people that may be watching at home that may have an idea to share, they can bring to the commission meeting. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're receptive to new ideas. But this is all in terms of revitalizing. It would help in revitalizing our downtown, which is so needed today. Some may say, well, some may think that perhaps lessening the liquor might be the thing. Some might feel that by having the Chamber of Commerce be active in going out and recruiting people. Some may say the Office of Community Development. But in my feeling too, Mr. President, and I mentioned it back a few weeks ago, I feel that I really think that our administration should look into this, that ring road be closed, and that we have activity in which people can use it as a walkway. We can perhaps have affordable housing units as well as senior housing there, have retail, have it as a mixed-use type of a property. Housing is needed in the city of Medford. There's so many families, people my age, people even younger, that unfortunately they have to move out of the city. They live with their parents, they get married, and the costs of a home, or even rents for that matter, are so high, it's very difficult for people. And with something like this here, of course it will attract and bring people. And when you have a revitalization of the square, it certainly helps business, and it helps the community as well. So again, I want to thank you, John and Jerry, for coming this evening. And if anybody would like to attend your commission meetings, when are they generally scheduled, John?
Tuesday nights, 7:30, in the lobby of Chevalier Theatre.
Thank you.
And we're back to, we were on a weekly meet every week, but now we're back to a monthly meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. John, on page 2 of your contract, you list the various areas that
Excuse
can
me.
be rented. Sure.
Okay, the main floor, the balcony.
Yeah, could you just
yes.
go through the pricing for us?
Well, that's a little difficult because it depends on who we're renting to. For example, if we're renting to a weekend special for a dance recital, okay, they would just take the lower level and it'd be $2,000 for the entire weekend. If we're talking about the local community theater group that's paying about $2,300, well, they're $2,300 for the lower level for the entire week. If we rent it to a larger group that's a professional, that's not a community theater group, they're going to pay $3,000 for the main level.
For the main floor.
For the main floor. Balcony is kind of negotiable with the person coming in. You know, how bad do we want them in there and what do we have to do to negotiate? Well, not the commission now, but the booking agent would have to do to negotiate a price if they want the balcony. We're selling ourselves as a 2,100-seat theater to the professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But to the local groups and dance recitals, we sell ourselves as a 1,300-seat theater because local groups can't fill that place. It's huge.
So the pricing, depending upon, I understand if it's a local nonprofit versus a public entity that wants to rent it out, the difference in the prices, but are you consistent with the pricing?
Yes.
Depending, any private entity that comes in, they pay the same amount?
It's, as far as private, meaning the professionals, they're all in the same ballpark, but what throws a little negotiating the works is it a one-day concert or is it a two-day concert? Do they want to come in on Friday, set up the equipment for a Friday night and a Saturday night show, or just a Saturday night show? If we go 2 nights, he probably doesn't negotiate a fee as double. If they want a 2-night rental, since they're already there and set up, he may knock off 50% for the second night. So they'll pay more than $3,000, but they won't pay $6,000 because on top of that fee, there's other expenses that they have to pay. They got to pay for a house manager, they got to pay for a stage manager, and they got to pay for ushers. You know, ushers on a big show means you got to bring in, you know, you get a show that has that many people, you got to have a lot of ushers. Now you get to a point where, you know, you need 10 ushers or 12 ushers. You're not going to get 10 or 12 volunteers day after day after day unless they really like the show. So those are additional expenses on top of whatever they pay for the theater rental, which may or may not be put on that line as theater rental because they're expenses to the organization.
As part of the percentage that goes to the booking agent, the 15% for bookings under 2,500 or less, and 20% for over that, does that include the 50 cents restoration per ticket, or is it the prior to that?
Yeah, that's the 50-cent restoration fee. He doesn't come in until after the show is over. So when it's all finished, that price for, if you look at the front of the contract, it says a sum of under fees. That is the total amount of the rental, but does not include the restoration fee. The restoration fee, like the pillow rental, is all based on attendance and tickets sold.
So the percentage paid to this Boston Event Works is based on tickets as well? It's not based on just the rental of the building?
No, just the rentals.
It's not based on ticket sales?
No.
So the volume from the sales goes to the entity that's renting the facility?
Yes, when their show is over, they pay the contract amount plus the 50 cents restoration fee plus 20% of all their concessions and all their merchandise sold. And we have people in the lobby kind of overseeing what they're selling. And at the end of the night, they give us the 20% and the 50 cents. We sit there and count tickets or count heads. But that's not part of the rental fee or his commission. Where
do you define booking in this contract or this agreement?
Well, everything that's in the contract is part of the booking. is this is the contract that gets sent out, and then addendums are added to it for the additional costs that are incurred, such as production fees, the house manager, cleaning costs. There's sometimes additional cleaning costs put in, depending on what's going on in there.
I guess it's just trying to tie in the actual contract with the entity that's renting the facility versus the commission you pay to the booking agent who brought them in.
Well, what
It's
happens
hard,
is,
the terminology is a little bit different.
well, the agreement, all the money comes to us, the commission. The booking agent doesn't take any money out of what goes through him. The security deposit, the final payments, everything comes to us, and then when we've all settled out, we write him a check for his 15% or his 20%. So we don't really have two different sets of figures going at the same time. Everything goes into one account. We get a report from him, then we do a report, and then we send him a check for his percentage.
So when you say he's the exclusive booking, he has exclusive rights to this?
Yes.
If the Mystic Players comes in, he gets a cut of that? Even,
No, he didn't.
why wouldn't he?
Well, because Mystic Plays is a local theater group. They don't have a lot of money, you know.
But that contract doesn't say that.
No.
I'm just,
Yeah.
did the city solicitor review this
Yes.
contract
Yeah, it was,
with Warren Scott?
yeah. Well, we got
It
this.
doesn't look like something he would craft, just knowing Mark and how his terminology is. This just doesn't look like a Mark Rumley document.
Well, what happened was the original contract was approved by Bob Bloomsack.
The rental contract.
This. And then what happens is over the past 5 or 6 years, we've added to it as problems occurred.
The rental agreement. What about the
Oh,
exclusive
that
booking?
is, the booking. No, it's just part of it is a short-term contract. If you read the contract.
18 months?
It's only 18 months. And it's, at this point, to do a really complicated, detailed contract with them, that would tie up multiple years. You know, we started with this little contract with pretty much what we talked about. You know, he's a good guy. Yes, either one of us could probably break the contract if we wanted to. I mean, it's not full of that much detail. But he understands that the community theater group has their place, and that even though it's not spelled out that the local community theater group has a fixed, rate, it's just understood. And he understands that.
So did you just say the solicitor did not review this? The
That-
booking agreement?
No, that's just between there was commission and Warren Scott, and of course we showed it to the mayor.
I would just suggest in the future that this is contractual, that you would have the solicitor involved. He is your legal arm.
Right.
He's our legal arm, he's your legal arm.
Well-
And he should be a party to any types of contracts
Sure.
because the commission acts on behalf of the city.
Right.
And just just wrap it up. You mentioned the annual report. Could you give us the 2002 report?
Yes.
And get part of our committee report that the mayor filled the vacancy to put the fifth seat in.
I mean, it's not Jerry, right, just me.
Sure, Councilor Burke.
To have a party? Can someone do that?
You know,
Or
actually, we have rented just a lobby in the past.
how much would that cost for one night lobby?
I can't even guess. It's going to depend on how cold it is outside and how much heat it's going to take to heat the lobby for. If it's on a 30-degree day, it could cost more than it was in the middle of the summer. We're not really in the habit of renting the lobby, but I think what you're referring to is on page 2. It says the upper lobby. Mm-hmm. All right, what that is, if you recall in Chevalier, in the front of the building where the 5 big windows are, there's a room there.
Yep.
Okay, it used to be the music room when it was a school. That's a rental space to be used with the theater. So in other words, in some cases, we've rented the main theater, and they've taken the balcony, but then they wanted to do a special ceremony or special reception for the guests. So they made a deal that if you bought this ticket, you can get the balcony seats, and you have complimentary food and drinks in the upper lobby during intermission and before and after, without having to go downstairs in the main lobby. So you can use it however you want. you know, as a reception room if you wanted to during a show, or a little party afterwards. It's not very big. And you probably can't put more than 75 people in that room. I mean, it's the same size as a lower lobby. It's just 2 levels up, but it's nice up there.
Has anyone applied for a one-day liquor license to have an event here?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We just got the information that how to do it. And we've had a lot of requests about the one-day liquor license for beer and wine. And my understanding is what they have to do is send a letter or something to the Liquor Commission and get it approved. And it's very exciting that we can do that now, you know, because that's going to help a lot, especially with some of these larger, like Don Law, because that's what, you know, they do something with Budweiser, you know, they're going to want to get something like that.
Thank you.
Councilor Carr.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one little thing here. This commission, all the commissions in the city except the park board and your commission do not get paid. I don't understand. They don't get paid. I don't understand why you eliminate that commission from payment. And I know there's a rule about commissioners can't be paid, but why is the commission on Chevalier not being paid? And I think we should get an answer now, because they're the only ones other than the park that's, not that they're going to get $1 million, but everybody else is taking money. Why don't we eliminate all the money from all the commissions?
Clerk, record the question by Councilor Carr to the mayor. Why does the Civic Auditorium Commission commissioners not receive a stipend, salary, whatever you want to call it?
Okay. Can we make that retroactive for 20 years ago? Please? 20 years, that's, you know, if we could.
Somewhere on this.
As Chevalier starts to take off, and hopefully the big production companies do come in like Don Law and so forth, what consideration have you given to parking in the area? We all know it's a congested area already, a 2,000-seat auditorium. If it ever does get filled up, we know we can't house that. What solutions or alternatives are out there for parking?
Well, as of right now, we've had as many as, well, I think the Air Force concert, we stacked in 1,900 people that one show. We've had some shows in there that goes to 1,500, 1,600 people. And because we're a theater and we do things at night, parking is not really a big issue at night, because we got the entire parking garage empty. Everything back here is empty. That other lot's empty. So on a weekend night, parking is not an issue. Now, if you try to put a big show in there on a weekday, you're in trouble. You can't do it. But we don't usually do shows on weekdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Sunday, a matinee, everything is closed.
Do you have permission to use the lot across the street, the rehab?
The dialysis?
The dialysis?
Oh, no, they tow out of that. No.
They won't let you use that lot on nights that...
No. Well, you know, sometimes they tow and sometimes they don't. Part of the problem is some people want to park there when they're open. And they do get towed for being open. And I think if they actually verbally said it's okay to park here at night, I think they'd be opening themselves to a lot of trouble. But you can only park like 9 cars over there. It's not a very big lot.
Is there information given out in addition to the rental agreement of parking within the area when the facility is rented?
Most groups they'll do is they'll send out a flyer.
Because we have some lots that are very close. For instance, behind here at City Hall is a giant lot that could house hundreds of cars. So and it's in walking distance to Chevalier.
Well, we have a little map that was done by Kathy Sayer, one of the friends of Chevalier, that really indicates a lot of the parking spaces and how many cars here and there that we give them. And it's also on our website. If you go to chevaliertheatre.com, theater being spelled with an ER, it shows parking wherever it is in the city, and it gives directions on how to get there, and it shows upcoming events, and it's a good website. You can it has a virtual website built into it, so you can tour Chevalier right on your computer screen.
Oh, super.
So it's chevaliertheatre.com, and again, theater is spelled with an ER in the web address, but then it's spelled correctly inside as RE.
Thank you.
Well, let them tell them. Let them tell them.
Thanks for coming tonight.
What's the next upcoming event?
Right now, it will be It will be 42nd Street. That'll be the middle of September. I think the weekend with September 20th in it. So that'll be our next event. But we do have a couple of dance recitals coming up in June. If anybody wants to come and see a dance recital, we got a couple of dance recitals. You know, they're there.
Are you in competition with
No, I don't see how. Well, I really don't know a lot about what they do in that building, or what they're going to do in that building.